Okay, so little recap for you from this week's self-trust session. Lots of lovely notes. So we were talking about the connection between your nervous system and achieving your goals, and procrastination, and how we respond in the moment. So this is particularly looking at language and where we freeze or we get this like blank. Okay, so there are a couple of ideas for you to be familiar with and to think about. So the first is our nervous system. Now, I talk about the nervous system a lot because it's been like a revelation to me. Really, an absolute revelation. I'm going to show you a quick, beautiful diagram. Okay, so our central nervous system is essentially, it's telling us to move, to get out of danger when when it perceives something as a threat. So if you think about it, we've got our kind of three parts of the brain, very roughly for our purposes. So we've got our primal part of the brain, which is like the lizard that just sees a shape and it either runs under the rock. Well, it runs under the rock. Okay, there's a shape, runs under the rock. So it's not thinking, it's just getting out of the way. Then we've got our mammalian part of the brain, which is like Rita, my dog. And that has emotions. It feels love, it feels trust, it feels fear, it feels more complex emotions. And then we have our prefrontal cortex. And this is the human bit, which takes decisions, it solves problems. And it's almost like, if we think about having these two systems, our central nervous system is like security. And I always think of it as like the guns out, all guns blazing, kind of like, get in the safe room, shoot. Versus prefrontal cortex, which is like, right, do we actually need to get in the safe room? Is it a false alarm? Let's have a look at the situation. Okay, so when we freeze or when we're procrastinating, what's happening is our nervous system. Okay, so this is a very loose illustration, but our nervous system, we're always somewhere on I think I heard it called the nervous system ladder, right? We're always somewhere on there. So if you think about it, a message is being sent to your brain, and the message might be safe, we're safe. And this means we're regulated. Sometimes it's called the zone of tolerance. It doesn't mean we feel good, right? We can not be enjoying something. We can feel irritated, but we still feel safe, okay? So that's that like little signal going off in the background. Now, the moment we perceive a threat, that then changes to danger, okay? And that danger can mean either we're overactivated, at which point we go into fight or flight, and that can look like starting an argument. It can look like deciding you're going to burn your business down or quit your job. But it's this urge to do something, right? So you'll know that you're activated either from the physical sensations in your body or because you're feeling the urge like to do. For me, that's sometimes like must change the name of my courses, or must go clean the kitchen right now. Okay, so that can be the doing. The other place is then when we're underactive or underregulated, and that can feel like exhaustion or overwhelm. And often it will come up with, someone asks you a question and you say like, oh, I don't know. Okay, when we don't know, if someone says to you, can you work out this calculation right now without a calculator? And you're like, well, so again, it wouldn't be, I don't know. The answer would be, no, I don't know how to do that. Sorry. Okay, really interesting. So I don't know generally tells us something's up. We're underactive. So the other thing to notice here is we also have, so this would be freeze. We also have fawn. And fawn looks like people pleasing, changing what we say to appease the threat that we see in front of us. Now, when we are trying to do something new, the example we talked about today was this change in our self-identity of, all of us on the call are currently living in a country where we're not using our first language day to day. And we talked about that sense of losing confidence, of going from being, You know, people who enjoy admin, they like getting things done, they like planning things ahead, making sure everything's organized, to suddenly being people who procrastinate and look disorganized and look like they're avoiding things in the countries we've moved to. Now, the reason for that is when we are not able to express ourselves, or we're not confident that we can express ourselves in a way that protects our safety. And remember, safety can just be how people see us, right? It might be the safety of not being seen as an idiot. When that happens, our fight or flight system gets activated. Okay, so the example that I gave was I went into a bank maybe a year or so after moving to Spain, and I couldn't express what it was that I needed. I needed a specific form. The guy treated me like I was an idiot. And as soon as he did that, rather than me advocating for myself and saying, hey, I'm a customer, actually, you know, this is your job to help me, I'm paying for this. What happened was the thought, he doesn't understand me. And then my nervous system became activated. And then there was this panic that then continued. I drew a blank. I wanted to cry. And I just flight, got out of there as quickly as possible, and didn't take the time to repair my confidence. So the next step was, well, I'll ask my ex-boyfriend to make the next phone call. I won't do it myself. And so when we don't take the time to repair our confidence, it's like our nervous system is already like the safe sounds like they're weaker and they're smaller. So what we want to do is focus on how do we build up that resilience of safe, and getting back to it as quickly as possible. So the example that I gave today was about that freeze moment. And this might be because you're using your second language, or it might be because you're speaking in public. And actually you're giving this speech and suddenly you notice somebody looks bored, or somebody looks like they don't agree with you, and you're safe, it goes into danger. So what we can do is interrupt it, right? So put a hand on our heart. As soon as you put your hand on your heart, your brain starts to release oxytocin. Oxytocin is the love hormone, and it stops the stress hormone. This is obviously not the biologically accurate way, right? So if anyone's watching this and you're a neuroscientist, sorry, but this is how it works for us to understand, okay? So we can't have cortisol going at the same time as love. So the cortisol stops, stress hormone stops, and the love hormone starts to flow. And so we put our hand on our heart, and then we say, I know what's happening. You don't need to say that out loud. If you're in the moment and somebody's looking at you like an idiot, you can just think it like, oh yeah, I know what's happening. Okay, and then the next one is, I know what to do. Okay, so what I do is I'm doing this. I take a deep breath, get some oxygen in, flowing, and then have an expression that you've practiced 100 times, which is, let me start again, or I lost my thread, or, you know, today's not my day, obviously, and smile. Okay, and as soon as you do that, even the smile, it also sends that signal to your brain of safe, and that helps us to get back to regulated. And as soon as we're regulated, our creativity and our problem solving is back online, and then we can get ourselves out of the situation. So this is what we would do in the moment, right? So this is like the reactive, there's a fire, let's put out the fire. But we also want to practice doing this, the maintenance work, week by week, day by day, where we're already feeling good, but we just practice hand on heart and checking in with how we feel. And you can do this before you open your email. You can do it before you make a coffee. And you can just get into that habit of connecting with yourself, telling yourself, I'm safe, I'm good. Because the more we build up and we repair that confidence that you are safe, that things are good, you're doing what you need to do, the easier it becomes to get back into that state because it's more familiar. Whereas when our brain is used to hanging out here and here, your brain feels like it's doing a good job. Even though it's not, it's keeping you permanently stressed and anxious. But as far as your brain knows, you're alive, and that's good, okay? Even if you're not happy. So one more thing to think about now that we know, okay, nervous system, when it's activated, these are the challenges. This is our job, to practice the regulated and to get back to it. We also want to think about how we're bringing self-compassion into this, because when we don't practice self-compassion, we are sending that danger alert. So we become the person attacking ourselves. So if we notice, like, okay, we have that thought, they don't understand me. And if the next thought is, you're an idiot, you should have worked harder at this. I can't believe this is still happening. You've been living in this country for 5 years. Why aren't you fluent yet? If you were fluent, this wouldn't be a problem. As soon as that happens, nervous system and brain, like, okay, we're under attack. Okay, so it stays activated, activated, activated. If we instead choose self-compassion and we notice, like, oh yeah, well, this is a stressful situation. This is stressful for a lot of people. This is quite common. I'm looking after myself while I learn how to do this. I'm practicing being more confident. We stop that slide into more and more activated, and we create the circumstances to move back into regulated. Now, if we think about the maintenance approach to this, this looks like learning to love our flaws. And that can be each day looking at the things that we see as not good about ourselves. The example that I gave was me being someone who starts things with a lot of enthusiasm and then doesn't finish them. And when I saw that as a bad thing, it became something that really slowed me down, because my inner critic would say, you always do this. You've done it again. You're not finishing things. You never finish things. People will think you're a flake. But actually, if I move into, you know what? I love that I'm so enthusiastic. My enthusiasm helps the people that I work with to get more energy. I'm a coach. It's my job to have enthusiasm and to help people find their own enthusiasm. And if that means sometimes I don't finish projects, well, that's okay. I'm prepared to pay that cost. Now, as soon as I do that, and I practice listing the reasons that I love my flaws and really embracing them, they stop having the power to hurt me, and they stop having the power to push me into overstimulated, overactive nervous system. And it means I keep my problem solving and my creativity online, which the classic example of that this week is I've started another 30-day challenge. Last time I only got to 22 days. Right? But I decided to use that as evidence that, of course, I can get to 30 days this time. We've already done 22. It's just 8 extra days. I know how to do this. I've got all of the learning. I've got the enthusiasm. I'm learning how to pace myself, right? So that's what I would love for you to think about this week. Loving your flaws and noticing where your nervous system is on the ladder and thinking about how to work with it rather than against it. And obviously, post your questions, post your comments under this video.